There's a piece of financial advice so universally repeated that most people have stopped questioning whether it applies to them. Wait as long as possible to claim Social Security. Delay until 70. Every year you wait, your benefit grows. The math favors waiting. End of conversation. I've heard this advice given to people for whom it is genuinely wrong, not slightly suboptimal, actually wrong, in a way that costs real money across a retirement that ends earlier than the spreadsheet assumed, or a household that needed income sooner than the optimization model allowed for, or a life that looked nothing like the clean theoretical scenario the conventional wisdom was built around. Here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. The advice to wait until 70 is not bad advice. For the right person, in the right circumstances, with the right health profile and the right household situation, it is probably correct. But it was built on a set of assumptions about your life, and if those assumptions don't match your actual life, the advice built on them doesn't either. Today, we're going through 4 specific situations where claiming at 62 is not a mistake, not impatience, and not a failure of financial planning. It is the right call, and I want you to understand exactly why, clearly enough to make the decision with confidence rather than guilt. My name is William. Let's get into it. First, the baseline everyone needs before any of this makes sense. You were born in 1960 or later. Your full retirement age is 67. That's when you receive 100% of your earned benefit, the number calculated from your highest 35 years of earnings. Claim at 62, and that benefit is permanently reduced by approximately 30%. If your full benefit would be $2,000 a month, you're receiving $1,400 at 62. Wait until 70, and delayed retirement credits push your benefit to 124% of the full amount. That same $2,000 becomes $2,480. The break-even math is where most people start and stop the analysis. If you claim at 62 instead of 70, you need to live past approximately age 80 for the person who waited to come out ahead in total lifetime dollars. Before 80, the early claimer collected more. After 80, the late claimer catches up and surpasses. The Social Security Administration designed the system so that people who live to average life expectancy receive roughly the same total benefit regardless of when they claimed. The decision is really about 2 things: how those dollars are distributed across time and whether the standard assumptions about your life are actually true. For most people, they aren't entirely true. Here's who should seriously consider claiming early.
Your health history tells a different story than the average. I want to approach this directly because it's a conversation most financial content avoids. Assessing your own life expectancy is uncomfortable. Nobody wants to sit down and do that math. But planning your retirement around a life expectancy that doesn't reflect your actual health profile isn't optimism. It's a spreadsheet that doesn't match reality. The average American who reaches 62 can expect to live approximately 22 more years. Average. Half of people live longer, half live shorter. If your family history consistently shows men or women on your side not reaching their late 70s, if you're managing significant chronic conditions that your doctor has been direct with you about, if your honest assessment of your health trajectory points somewhere different from the statistical average, the break-even math shifts in a way that changes the conclusion. Claiming at 62 and not surviving past 78 means you collected more total dollars than if you'd waited. The higher monthly benefit that waiting produces is worth nothing if the timeline doesn't accommodate it. Social Security is insurance for your retirement. If your retirement will realistically be shorter than average, the insurance should pay out sooner, not because you're giving up, but because you're planning accurately instead of optimistically. I know this is a hard conversation to have with yourself. Have it anyway. The alternative is a financial plan built around a life expectancy you don't actually have. Your spouse needs income, and they need it now. This is the strategic consideration I see most consistently overlooked, and it's particularly costly when it's missed because the household pays for it every single month the delay continues. Your spouse cannot collect spousal benefits until you file for your own retirement benefit. That is not a detail. That is a structural feature of the system that has direct monthly consequences for your household income while you're waiting to optimize your individual check. Spousal benefits can reach 50% of your full retirement age benefit. If your full benefit is $2,400 a month, your spouse's spousal benefit can reach $1,200. Every month you delay filing is a month that $1,200 is not arriving in your household. Not deferred, gone. You cannot recover the months your spouse went without the spousal benefit while you were optimizing your individual payment. Here's the scenario I want you to sit with. You're 62, strong earnings history. Your spouse is also 62 with minimal work credits. They raised children, worked part-time, or worked in a field that didn't build a meaningful Social Security record of their own. You decide to wait until 70 to maximize your benefit. Your spouse waits 8 years to receive a single dollar of spousal income. 8 years of a second income stream your household was entitled to and didn't collect. The individual optimization that tells you to wait might be actively harming your household's total financial picture. The question worth asking is not what maximizes my benefit, it's what maximizes our total household lifetime income. Those are frequently different questions. They often have different answers.
Person 3. You've stopped working and your portfolio needs protection. This one surprises people. If you have significant retirement savings, shouldn't you be the one who could most afford to wait? The logic that says otherwise is about portfolio protection rather than income need, and once you understand the mechanism, it's genuinely compelling. When you retire and stop working, your portfolio funds your life. Every dollar you withdraw stops compounding. If you claim Social Security early and use those payments to cover a portion of your living expenses, you withdraw less from the portfolio each month. The investments get more runway. The compounding continues on a larger base. There's a second dimension to this called sequence of returns risk. If the market drops significantly in your first few years of retirement while you're withdrawing heavily to cover expenses, the damage to your portfolio can be permanent in a way that a later market recovery doesn't fully repair. Having Social Security income as a baseline, even a reduced one, means fewer forced liquidations during downturns. You preserve more of the portfolio to participate in the recovery. I've run this math for different scenarios, and the conclusion is consistently the same. For someone with meaningful assets who has genuinely stopped working, the portfolio protection argument for early claiming is real enough to take seriously, even if the conventional advice says to wait. Person 4. You physically cannot keep working and the savings aren't there. Sometimes retirement doesn't arrive on the schedule you built for it. And I want to talk about this honestly because the financial content world tends to present retirement as a planned event, when for a significant number of Americans, it isn't. Decades of physically demanding work, construction, nursing, manufacturing, agriculture, warehousing, accumulate in the body in ways that become impossible to ignore by the early 60s. The back that cooperated at 45 doesn't cooperate at 62. The knees that got you through the job for 30 years have run out of runway. This is not a planning failure. This is what certain work costs over time. Sometimes it isn't physical. The job disappears at 61, and the hiring market for someone your age, regardless of what the law says about age discrimination, is not the same market it was at 45. The comparable role doesn't materialize. The income replacement doesn't happen. The savings that were supposed to bridge the gap to full retirement age are being drawn down faster than the plan assumed. If you've genuinely exhausted the alternatives, explored different work arrangements, considered less physically demanding roles, assessed whether the savings can realistically bridge the gap, and the honest conclusion is that waiting isn't structurally possible, Social Security is there for exactly this. It is a safety net you paid into for decades. Using it when you need it isn't a failure. It is the system working as designed. What I'd encourage you to resist is the financial shame that sometimes accompanies this decision. The advice to wait until 70 assumes you have the option to wait until 70. Not everyone does, and the person who needs the income now and claims it now is making a more rational decision than the person who delays out of obligation to advice built for a different situation.
What the decision actually requires from you. 4 things in order. First, get your actual numbers. Log into your Social Security account and look at your benefit estimates at 62, 67, and 70. Not approximations, the real dollar amounts for your specific earnings record. The decision should be made with your numbers, not with hypothetical examples, including the ones I used in this video. Second, assess your health honestly, not pessimistically, honestly. Look at your family history. Look at your current conditions. Have a direct conversation with your doctor about what your health trajectory realistically looks like. Use that information in the analysis rather than defaulting to the average life expectancy because it's more comfortable. Third, if you're married, model the household, not just your individual benefit. Run the total household income picture across different filing combinations. Your filing decision affects your spousal benefit and potentially their survivor benefit. The household optimization is a different calculation from the individual optimization, and it frequently points somewhere different. Fourth, consider working with a fee-only financial planner who specializes in Social Security claiming strategy. There are over 700 different filing combinations when you account for spousal benefits, survivor benefits, and various timing scenarios. The break-even analysis is the starting point, not the complete picture. A few $100s in professional guidance can redirect tens of thousands in lifetime benefit decisions. That is one of the highest return professional consultations available to anyone approaching retirement age. The advice to wait until 70 is not wrong, it is incomplete. It was built on assumptions about your life, your health, your household structure, your financial position, your ability to keep working, that may or may not describe your actual situation. For 4 specific people, claiming at 62 is not the impatient choice or the uninformed choice. It is the choice that correctly accounts for what their life actually looks like, rather than what the standard model assumes it looks like. You are one of those 4 people, or you aren't. The only way to know is to look at your real situation with clear eyes, not through the lens of what the conventional wisdom says you should do, but through the lens of what your actual health, your actual household, and your actual financial picture are telling you. The answer might still be wait. For a lot of people, it is, but it should be a decision you made with full information, not advice you followed because everyone said to, and the alternative felt like giving up. It isn't giving up. For the right person, it's getting it right. If this reframed how you're thinking about Social Security or gave you language for a conversation you've been avoiding, subscribe. New video every week on the financial decisions that actually matter, built on real numbers without the oversimplification. And drop your situation in the comments. Are you approaching 62, already claimed, or still years out and trying to plan ahead? The conversation down there is worth reading, and I read every comment. Share this with someone facing this decision. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do for someone's retirement is hand them a different frame before they make an irreversible one.